DeFi is by far the biggest topic in crypto right now, and there's no shortage of projects trying to add their own twist onto the space. Rightfully so, I was reached out to by a project called PowerPool, and they told me that they were doing things differently. So I said, word? Let's get it then. So today we're going to look at PowerPool and how they use smart indices and automatically managed token portfolios to generate ridiculous amounts of yield. I know that was a whole mouthful right there, but trust me, we're going to kind of simplify it down. And we're also going to go through some risks as well that may be associated if you do plan on using some of their pools. So without further ado, let's get into it. PowerPool is a decentralized protocol for automatically managed token portfolios and smart indices, as I mentioned earlier. They use staking, vaults, and meta governance to generate that sweet yield. But specifically, we're really going to be touching on PowerIndex.io, which is going to be their dashboard for their smart pools. And kind of, as I already said, PowerIndex is just a dashboard for you to buy into different smart pools consisting of different types of projects and gain yield based off which one that you're invested in. The funny thing is that this is actually kind of based off how the Balancer automated market maker works. It's actually forked from the Balancer smart contract, but it differs by three specific things. Number one, the ability to dynamically change the weights of tokens by using a controller smart contract. Number two, the ability to call other contracts by using that same controller smart contract. And then number three, protocol commission for entering and exiting the pools and swaps. So it makes it a lot more, I would say, literally dynamic in a sense, where PowerIndex, or at least it seems like the way they have their automated market maker works, it's able to kind of move around a lot more in terms of being able to call different smart contracts, obviously changing the weights of the tokens based on each different pool, which we're going to look at one actually in a second, as well as getting commission for entering and exiting these pools. So there's a little bit of incentive for a user to use it because of that commission, and of course there's going to be a lot more adjustments that's being able to be made, both actually after these contracts are made, even before it, because of the ability to use that controller smart contract, which I guess you could say does come with its own risks as well, but we're going to get onto that later. Now you may be asking yourself, Hunter, why are you talking to me about a pool or a vault? We already know what that is. We got Uniswap, we got Yearn. Who cares about this stuff? Well, actually the main difference I do see between PowerIndex and other DeFi pools or vaults or whatever is that the yield that you get from these specific PowerIndex pools, they're very high because they specifically consist of governance tokens, staking, and vaults. It's like the middle between liquidity pools and just regular vaults, on their own. For example, if you take a look at Yearn.finance, they have a bunch of vaults there. Some of them have particularly low yield because of how they're able to kind of take advantage of a lot of different smart contracts. And although it seems kind of low, it's it's pretty high for what you're getting. For some of the stable coins that they have on there, it actually is kind of high. And you're going to see in a second that the one that PowerIndex has are quite a bit higher. But to be clear, liquidity pools have something called impermanent loss, which is a big risk if you expect one of the coins in the pool to go up really fast in a short period of time, and the other one to just stay there. Meanwhile, vaults are inherently riskier because of how many different mechanisms that they have built into them, to get in and out of different smart contracts, looking for that best yield. That's the point of a vault, to kind of use different smart contracts and pretty much generate the best yield based off of interacting with other ones. PowerIndex uses a little bit of both, and by doing that, it kind of doesn't eliminate, but it takes away that impermanent loss situation. There's no impermanent loss when you're using one of these pools, as well as minimizing the risk of having a vault potentially attacked or whatever. The entire smart contract isn't lost, just really a part of it. All right, so this is going to be the dashboard for these different smart pools that we're talking about. Again, it's PowerIndex.io, and something that I love that they have actually on here real quick is that they have mentioned that they passed several different public security audits, but it still is experimental software, so please use it at your own risk. And I love those obvious statements where it's like, hey, you know what? We all know that for the most part, we're using DeFi. There's a very small chance that we may get, God forbid, rug pulled or hacked or whatever like that. But I like the fact that they put it out there just as a little reminder. You know what I mean? Nothing is impermeable. I don't know. Nothing is unhackable. I will say that. Nothing is provenly unhackable. Whatever. Let's get on to it. So we're going to be talking about specifically the ASSY Index and the Urine Lazy Ape Index as well. The Power Index and Urine Ecosystem Token Index are the two different pools that I was told are being redesigned and relaunched. So we're really just going to kind of touch on these two, but you'll see that these two are kind of the same. They kind of relate to the ASSY Index a little bit. But we're going to go ahead and touch on the Urine Lazy Ape Index first. But to keep in mind, I've said the word pool and index multiple times. I just want you to know that those are interchangeable. So ASSY pool, Urine Lazy Ape pool, same thing. They're just different ways to call like the same thing, right? It's like Apple and Apple. I don't know. Okay, let's go to the ape. So as you can see, the Urine Lazy Ape Index consists of Urine V1 Vault liquidity pool tokens. Now, I know that was a mouthful essentially, but let's go ahead and read this so you can kind of get a better understanding. And we'll talk about what's over here on the right, because there's definitely a lot of stuff going on here. So as you can see, there are a couple of different things that we can do here. We can zap into the contract with USDC, and we'll kind of go through that process in a little bit, because this is actually very interesting and kind of just how the entire thing works. You can zap in with a single asset, so it can be essentially any one of the 5 different, you could say LP vaults, LP tokens, I mean. You can kind of zap into it with just one of these, or sorry, not zap in, but get into it with one of those. And then of course you can also get in, which is probably the best way, I would say, for the protocol at least. Getting in with all 5 of the different tokens that consist of this actual pool and of itself. And you can see, looking at this chart over here, that there are different amounts of each token in each pool. Again, it's really just going to depend on how much is deposited in the first place. So let's take a look at Zap. It'll give us a good overview of how we can turn USDC into YLA, which is going to be the token that represents this pool. So every 24 hours or earlier, if USDC limit is reached, Zap contract automatically converts USDC to Curve.finance, so liquidity pool tokens, deposits those liquidity pool tokens to Urine vaults, supplies vault tokens to YLA, mints YLA, and then transfers that YLA to liquidity providers. And then, of course, finally, the address that you have will receive those YLA tokens. That's kind of the process that it goes through for you to get YLA from your USDC. So obviously, it's quite a bit of things. And this is going to be the one that's similar to like vaults in this case, because we're using these 5 different, I guess you could say, vaults from Urine.finance. You are exposed to different types of risk, but at the same time, you're exposed to all those different methods of actually, yield. Right. So in this case, let's say if one of these, let's say the Y year of compound one goes under, for whatever reason, theoretically you can just stop deposits in Y year of compound and just kind of not take it away from the smart contract entirely, but kind of just not allow people to even use it within the smart contract, as far as I'm concerned. So in terms of risk, it's diversified between these 5 different pools, which is, I think, makes it the biggest difference between regular vaults that this is taking from and this itself. And one of the coolest things that I should have mentioned earlier is that the YLA token, which again is going to be the token that represents this entire index, appreciates over time with these tokens. So if you take a look at the price of it, you can kind of see, I guess excluding this part over here, that the price of YLA has been going up pretty steadily. The reason is because the yield that these vaults are generating, they're essentially, because they're being locked into a pool and represented as this YLA token, that YLA token is a representation of that appreciation in value of these 5 different vaults. So to me, that's so interesting. I'm sure that there are different protocols or DeFi projects that do something similar, but I have personally never seen something that's like this intricate, but at the same time is like this, like makes this much sense when you think about it, right? So I thought this one was really cool. And the thing is that it doesn't stop there. Mind you, this alone, like the YLA token alone, yields around 16% APY according to the team. But the real kicker, because let's be honest, 16% yearly on, let's say, like a token like this. Listen, dude, 16% is nothing. Okay, we want the big boy gains. Let's be honest, right? By the way, not financial advice. And this is kind of where you can make that extra 47.99% yearly, as you can see here below, where all you got to do is deposit that YLA you just got. Let's say just in case you were, after you deposited your USDC, got your YLA, you deposit it here, and you get an additional boost because of the CVP token that you're actually getting in return. So, this is it's pretty interesting to see how this stuff works. I think that's what kind of drew me to this the most. It's just not only is it the complexity of how it looks because of all these different, farming and different smart contracts that you're interacting with, but the idea that this specifically is really just based off of stable coins. This entire thing is based off stable coins and, of course, their governance token. This is kind of one way to be conservative in terms of wanting to hold value as much as possible, let's say maybe in a bear market, but at the same time, getting a ridiculous amount of yield because of the interaction of these different smart contracts, specifically the vaults in this case, right? And of course, the ability to get that CVP boost as well. I'm not sure how long that boost lasts. It does say, again, boost on the top here. So, just to be clear, maybe when this video comes out, it might be different, maybe not. But just the fact that you can do something like this and get so much yield out of it is nuts. And that's kind of why I wanted to touch on it today. The next thing, however, is going to be the ASSY Index, right? Everyone loves some good old ASSY. Why is it a peach? Anyways, let's take a look at ASSY. The first thing you might notice, and actually I guess I should have showed it there, ASSY is actually the first one to be a dynamic automated market maker. And to just kind of break it down here, as we can see, it dynamically changed the pool weights according to each token's underlying market cap. And this is because they want to decrease impermanent loss as much as possible. Now, in terms of the mathematics there, I'm going to be honest with you, dude, that's way over my head. The last thing I remember doing in college was like triple integrals, and I never wanted to look at anything math related again. But the whole point here is that they want to decrease impermanent loss as much as possible, and I am 100% for it. And you can see here that the APY is disgustingly high on this, 76%, whereas the yearly lazy ape index was 48%. I mean, 48% is a lot for a stablecoin index. But let's take a look at the ASSY one. So the main difference you're going to see here is that what this does, rather than using the different vaults and stuff like that the year in lazy ape was, these actually just give you exposure to both Aave, SNX, YFI, and Sushi. In this case, each different DeFi project. So it's kind of just like if you want to just bet on the blue chips, I think as they say here, of the DeFi space, you can pretty much just buy this. The cool thing, and this is why, again, I really, really like what they're doing with this one as well, is because what they actually do here is they'll actually go ahead and, depending on the different protocol, Aave, SNX, YFI, they'll go ahead and stake your token in governance, or what have you. And depending on obviously each one, because they all have different types of governance and staking and all that stuff, you get the rewards from that. So like, let's say you have Aave, you have SNX, you have Sushi, and you have Wi-Fi, and you want to participate in all their staking mechanisms so you can get as much yield as possible on your own. You don't have to do that anymore. You can literally just buy this, ASSY index, and you'll already be exposed to that, I guess intrinsically or whatever word I want to use there, but automatically, I guess. And to me, it's just really dope. I mean, I haven't seen anything personally like this, again, like I said, in terms of just generating as much yield as as wholesome as possible. I don't know, to me that's so wholesome, right? You're throwing your coins in there and you're getting yield because those coins or those tokens are participating in each of their respective governance protocols. It's just so dope. And as you can see, once you do get that ASSY, you can even go ahead and stake that in return and get 76% boost in terms of USDC. That is nuts, guys. I mean, and I think this is going to be actually just 76 in general. I don't think it's 76 plus 26. But that's huge. Again, mind you, it does look like you're getting that in CVP. But either way, I mean, like, if you do like, how the Power protocol actually works in general and how it's using all these different mechanisms, that's dope, dude, because you're literally earning tokens in this DeFi project as well. So it's really cool in that regard. I mean, the entire project, PowerIndex, as well as these two different indexes, are very, very small in terms of market cap and all that stuff. So because of that, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the coin, which is going to be next. Okay, now the token. Everyone loves talking about tokens. Shoutouts to the Moon Boys. So CVP essentially is going to be their governance token that obviously governs the Power protocol, right? In a nutshell, you're able to add new indices, portfolio strategies, treasury management, and a lot more. Obviously, you're going to have to vote for this stuff, but having ownership of these tokens allow you to vote on, adding those new indices, portfolio strategies, treasury management. I think a couple of other things here, usage of meta governance power, all that stuff. Market cap is $42 million, which again is pretty low in my opinion. Circulating supply is about 14 million and 27 markets. But again, this is kind of something where I really wanted to bring this token up specifically, is because if you do plan on maybe being exposed to the ASSY Index or the YLA Index, let's say you just want to make yield on your stable coins, or you just want to be exposed to the DeFi markets. You already get a good amount of yield. In this case, the YLA, you get like 14%. ASSY, you get about 26%. But if you also go ahead and, pretty much stake those tokens respectively, then you literally get a huge boost just because of that CVP. Again, you get 77% on the ASSY one and 48% on the YLA one, which is like, it's nuts. I mean, I don't know. To me, those numbers are pretty high, if you ask me. I mean, if I'm bugging out, you can let me know down below. But To me, that's nuts. So that's kind of why I really wanted to talk about this, because it just seems like something that doesn't seem like anyone's really taking advantage of quite yet. And hey, you know what? If this video can close that gap, then sure, man, why not? There are a couple things I didn't go over, such as the Power Agent and the XCVP contract, but we're going to kind of leave that for later, just because I really wanted to focus on the Power Index specifically. And I do now want to get on to the security audits that they have been talking about. So as you can see over here, they've actually been audited a couple of times. We saw on the Power Index page that there were multiple audits that they've had, on the actual code itself. And you'll see here that there are actually two companies that are auditing them, Mixed Bytes and Pessimistic. I personally haven't really heard of either of these two auditing companies, but nonetheless, it seems that they're auditing their different smart contracts. But something I want you to keep in mind as well is that just because they're auditing them doesn't mean that all the contracts have been audited quite yet. So for example, if you take a look at the Power Index, I think if we look at the contracts overview, they'll actually tell you, this is a docs, by the way, for PowerPool. They'll tell you which one has been audited and which one has been deployed and which ones have not. As you can see, in this case, the controller contract looks like it is still under audit, and it looks like that they're messing with the multi-sig functions within that contract, what have you. But again, I just love the transparency that they have here, and just the ability to tell people the truth and kind of easily show you what's going on. Because I'll be honest with you, there are a lot of projects that do something similar where it's they're auditing, which is great, but it's you don't know specifically what's under audit, right? I mean, some contracts, some projects, mind you, only have 1 or 2 contracts, so it's pretty obvious. But there are projects like this that have multiple. Again, in this case, if you take a look back here, there are quite a bit, and this does not include the ones that have not been audited yet. So keep that in mind. Other thing that they have here is a bug bounty. So this does incentivize people to find bugs, obviously minor ones all the way up to critical ones, and of course get paid in return with CVP. Now, to me, I've always liked the idea of bug bounties. You're essentially just trying to promote white hat hackers, which is great. I love that. And the thing is here is that, this is something to me, obviously, almost any type of DeFi is good for the community. But if you're, let's say, a hacker, right? Screw it. Let's say it's me, right? Let's say I know how to hack and stuff. And I'm looking at their project. I'm like, you know what? I could find a way to, take all this stuff out, drain the contract or whatever, and get all the money that's inside of it, right? Listen, although that would be a lot of money, at the same time, it's if you have a heart, it's wow, look at this. I can get a minimum of 10,000 CVP, just for essentially, doing the good thing, helping them out, and getting rewarded for it. So to me, I don't know. I've always loved the idea of bug bounties and white hat hackers. So if you are one, then make sure that you find something. Oh, if you do find anything, that you report it, bro. All right. No one likes an exploiter. Okay, but I did want to specifically point this out because of the idea that this is DeFi. They say it at the top of their website. And they definitely don't hide from it. So I love how their approach to this comes about. And the other thing I wanted to talk about that I kind of mentioned earlier as well is the YLA Index. As we know, these are all different types of vaults for the Yearn.finance ecosystem. But when we're talking about risk, although vaults inherently have their own risk because of the idea that they use different smart contracts, YLA, as I mentioned, technically has a little bit less risk because of pretty much the idea that, if one of these, let's say the YUSD one goes under, right, you technically just have to stop accepting it into the pool and it should be fine, right? So, in that sense, there is still risk, again, for any of these. It's just that it seems a lot lower than your average vault or your average, I think ASSY is a little bit different, but your average vault in this case. Again, I definitely just wanted to touch on that in terms of the audits, because it's so important that you understand the risks when you're getting into anything like this. As dope as I think this is, I think it's also dope to not lose any of your money. So that's always a good thing. Now that we know all that stuff, let's take a look at the partnerships. You can see we have quite a bit. And in this case, I'm not sure if they mean partnerships in terms of actually talking to the team and working with them, or just using their contracts. Obviously they use the Yearn Finance contracts. They kind of forked Balancer stuff. SushiSwap. I think SushiSwap they're actually doing something with very soon. Something along the lines of being able to stake with SushiSwap and their CVP token. But something I would love to see, and I'm not sure if they already have it, is their integration with Matic. All right, guys, hold on real quick. We just found out something really dope. It looks like that they have testing on the XDOT network, Matic network, and Coven. I think the Matic network, it seems like it's still kind of up and being tested. As you can see, it's in its alpha phase. But it's dope that they have so many different networks and test nets. You know, that's so dope, man. That's so dope. But nonetheless, I am very excited to see the Matic version of this coming out. Listen, I'll tell you one thing, bro. Your boy uses Matic for sure, and I would love to see this built on Matic, just like they already have it regularly on the mainnet. Because again, I mean, I really don't want to pay any of those crazy fees, man. To be honest with you, that's like my biggest reason to not get involved in anything with DeFi related on the main chain, because it just costs too much. That's why I've been using Aave on the regular one. But anyways, let's get off topic. As you can see, they were working on those different types of networks to make sure that they're operating on, I guess, pretty much anything Ethereum related. Again, which to me is such a smart idea. And the fact that they're using so many different ones, they have XDAI and Matic, and obviously the testnet to make sure that everything runs well. Again, I'm not sure exactly if this is really like up and running. It looks like it is, but as you can see, it's definitely a little bit bare bones. They have the lending mechanism right here, but it looks like that's really it. Now, in terms of future things, I really specifically wanted to touch on the Power Oracle. Power Oracle, and we'll kind of just run it down real quick, and I'll give you my thoughts. Power Oracle is the decentralized cross-chain price oracle using Uniswap v2 as a primary data source of time-weighted average prices, or TWAPs. It autonomously operates by applying economic incentives for independent price reporters. So this is kind of like a Chainlink, just mainly on Ethereum. It does say cross-chain price oracle, but it does say that they're using Uniswap v2 as a primary data source, so most likely it's just Ethereum. And I think when they say cross-chain, they may potentially be talking about across the different layer 2s. Could be wrong on that. And as far as I'm concerned, it does look like it's in its kind of testing phases. So it doesn't look like it's out quite yet. But again, this is something else that the team is doing. Even if we take a look at the actual GitHub, there looks like that they're working on. And as you can see, it does say that it's unaudited. So that's probably the reason why it's not out yet. But all in all, let's kind of just talk about, kind of wrap everything up and talk about my thoughts here. It's clear that the team behind PowerPool, they're aiming for a lot here, in terms of innovation within the DeFi space, and just further diversifying people's options when it comes to participating in just DeFi in general. And we have some of the biggest players in DeFi already, Aave, Synthetics, YFI, these huge players. But it never hurts to add more onto it, right? We want to me at least, we want to reach a very, very decentralized ecosystem of these providers. Again, just like in the real world, you have a lot of different banks, you have a lot of different financial institutions. DeFi should be no different. To me, it should actually be even more diversified, right? And honestly, something that I really noticed after doing all this research and looking at their PowerIndex and all that stuff is the fact that they take from a lot of different projects that already exist, but they make it different enough where it's like you want to use them almost instead of these other projects, right? So they kind of took from Balancer in the sense that, they took the template and added on to it and made it their own. And once they did that, they went ahead and made different indexes or pools, using these different, DeFi assets. In this case, a DeFi basket for the blue chips of the DeFi space. YLA, they kind of made their own vault using 5 different vaults. Based on stable tokens. They've been able to build this entire ecosystem based off of these other protocols that are open source, and that is amazing. I love that so much about crypto, and to me, that's the best part about crypto just in general. One of the best parts. There's so many good things. The fact that all this is supposed to be open source and available to the public for people to build on top of, right? That's kind of the main thing where, like, why would someone have to build, let's say in this case, a Curve Finance back up to kind of improve on it? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no point in making this stuff closed source anymore. Everything is open. And the idea that we're able to make protocols like these, PowerPool, and just increasingly build on top of what is already dope is so cool to me. So I don't know. I do look forward to seeing these guys further build out their ecosystem. I'm in talks with someone from their team. So who knows? Maybe we'll get something kind of working out here or there. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. No promises here. But be clear, none of this video was sponsored at all. And I do want to say, and I don't have any CVP tokens either. So we'll see. I don't know. I do plan on putting this video into one of their think they have like a bounty going on or something like that. But again, that doesn't really deter me from saying what I think is the truth. Just keep in mind, if you do plan on using this protocol, that there are those risks in terms of, just smart contract risk, bug risk, all that stuff in general. I do hope that if they do move to Matic soon, because listen, your boy's going to be on that for sure. Because I think that's the main thing to me that right now is like, I want to hold my ETH, I do want to hold my ETH for the most part, but like the yield is so low for some of these different projects. Like AVE, the yield is like, oh my God, it's like less than 1% for ETH specifically. And I'm sure the DeFi tokens are a little bit better, maybe depending on the actual protocol itself. But like yields like that, I would love to see that on Matic. That'd be crazy. But nonetheless, that's my review for the day. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think you'll be participating in PowerPool, PowerIndex.io, any of that stuff? Let me know what your thoughts are. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.